The Galactic Council had made their decision. Dr. Elena Vasquez stood before the towering alien representatives, their bioluminescent forms pulsing with what she had learned to recognize as condescension. "The human is too fragile," rumbled Thexkar, the Vorthanian delegate, his crystalline exoskeleton clicking disapprovingly. "She lacks the physical prowess required for the Kepler 442b expedition. Her species is soft, weak. They break." The other council members murmured their agreement, a symphony of clicks, hisses, and harmonic vibrations that filled the chamber. Elena remained silent, her small frame dwarfed by beings that stood twice her height and possessed natural armor that could deflect plasma bolts. "The Ravagers of Kepler 442b have decimated 3 separate military expeditions," added Zixthala, her serpentine form coiling around her elevated platform. "The Korthakian war brutes fell in hours. The Zelfarian shock troops lasted mere days. What could this human possibly accomplish?" Elena stepped forward, her voice steady despite the weight of their disdain. "Permission to speak, Honored Council?" Thexakar's optical sensors whirred as they focused on her. "Very well, soft flesh. Amuse us with your delusions." "I don't claim to be stronger than your warriors," Elena began, her hands clasped behind her back. "But strength isn't always about power. Sometimes it's about understanding." The council erupted in what passed for laughter among their species, a cacophony of alien amusement that echoed through the chamber. "Understanding?" Zixthala's vocal synthesizer dripped with sarcasm. "The Ravagers are mindless killing machines, human. They have terrorized that sector for millennia. They cannot be reasoned with, negotiated with, or understood. They exist only to hunt and destroy." Elena had spent months studying the classified files on the Ravagers. Bipedal predators standing 12 feet tall, with razor-sharp claws that could tear through battleship hull plating. Their hide was naturally resistant to energy weapons, and their pack-hunting tactics had evolved over millions of years. Every attempt to colonize their world had ended in slaughter. "If I may," Elena said quietly, "I'd like to accept the assignment." The chamber fell silent. 3 weeks later, Elena's transport descended through the crimson atmosphere of Kepler 442b. Unlike the previous expeditions that had landed with dropships full of armed soldiers, Elena's vessel was small and unarmed. She carried no weapons, no armor, no military escort. She carried only her knowledge, her patience, and a backpack full of earth salmon. The first Ravager appeared within hours of her landing. Elena had set up her simple camp near a river delta, following behavioral patterns she had observed in the expedition footage. She sat perfectly still as the massive predator emerged from the forest, its obsidian hide rippling with muscle, its yellow eyes fixed on her with predatory intelligence. The creature circled her camp, maintaining a distance of exactly 40 meters, close enough to strike, far enough to assess the threat. Elena noted the behavior with interest. This wasn't mindless aggression. This was careful reconnaissance. She reached slowly into her pack and withdrew a single salmon, placing it on the ground between them. Then she retreated to her original position and waited. The Ravager approached cautiously, its massive head lowering to investigate the offering. It consumed the fish in one bite, then fixed its gaze on Elena again. This time she detected something different in its posture, curiosity rather than pure hostility. Over the following days, more Ravagers appeared. Elena established a routine. Each morning, she would place fish at the perimeter of her camp, always at the same distance, always the same amount. She moved slowly, predictably, offering no threats and making no sudden movements. On the seventh day, the pack leader approached her directly. Elena had been expecting this moment. The alpha was massive even by Ravager standards, with scars, crisscrossing its hide and an intelligence in its eyes that spoke of decades of survival. It stopped just 10 feet away and studied her with the patience of a supreme predator. Elena reached into her pack and withdrew her last salmon. Instead of placing it on the ground, she held it out in her open palm. The Ravager's lips pulled back, revealing rows of obsidian teeth. But instead of striking, it lowered its great head and gently took the fish from her hand. The transformation didn't happen overnight. Elena spent weeks among the pack, learning their complex social structure, their hunting patterns, their territorial behaviors. She discovered that the Ravagers weren't mindless killers. They were highly intelligent apex predators with a sophisticated pack hierarchy. They had attacked the previous expeditions because those forces had been perceived as rival predators, attempting to claim their territory. Elena wasn't a rival. She was something they had never encountered before. A small, non-threatening creature that brought gifts and asked for nothing in return. In their evolutionary framework, she was filling a niche similar to cleaner fish or oxpecker birds, a symbiotic relationship rather than a competitive one. When the Galactic Council's monitoring ship finally made contact, they found Elena walking calmly through the forest with a pack of Ravagers flanking her like honor guards. The transmission she sent back to the Council was brief. Colony site secured. The Ravagers have agreed to share the territory in exchange for a sustainable fishing arrangement. Recommend sending diplomats, not soldiers. Months later, Elena stood once again before the Galactic Council. The same representatives who had called her weak now listened with rapt attention as she described the thriving human Ravager settlement on Kepler 442b. Your species continues to confound us, Thexkar admitted, his crystalline form pulsing with what she now recognized as respect. Where force failed, you succeeded with fish? Elena smiled. Not just fish, understanding. We humans have a saying, it's not the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the fight in the dog. But sometimes, the biggest fight is choosing not to fight at all. The Ravagers now serve as protectors of the colony, she continued. In return, we've established sustainable aquaculture systems that provide them with food security they never had before. Both species benefit. Zixthala's serpentine form shifted thoughtfully. Perhaps we have underestimated the value of your species' particular talents. Elena nodded graciously. Strength comes in many forms. Sometimes the greatest power is knowing when not to use it. As she left the council chamber, Elena reflected on the lesson she had learned among the Ravagers. In a galaxy full of warriors and conquerors, sometimes the most revolutionary act was extending an open hand instead of a closed fist. Sometimes being called weak was simply the price of choosing to be wise. The humans had found their place among the stars not through superior firepower, but through superior understanding. And in the end, that made all the difference.